Okay, so we did our attack on certificate misvalidation. So to start with some background. So, TLS protocols are the foundation of modern network security. What we're interested here is the TLS handshake, and particularly the first part of it, which has to do with the certificate, or the server, offering up its certificate chain to the client. And the client, is responsible with validating it. So a few things to note also here is that browsers use, their own implementations of the TLS protocol. So the point of this attack is more to highlight security vulnerabilities within these implementations and not, with the TLS protocol itself. There's just some certificate background. So, given the certificate chain by the server, the client must validate this. This typically entails stepping through the chain up to the root and validating each certificate. And ultimately, it must end in a trusted root CA that is trusted by the client's local machine. Each CA or each certificate on the path has to satisfy some basic constraints. It can't be expired. And for version 3 certificates, for example, it has to properly support extensions. Okay, so how are we going to implement the attack? We're going to create two EC2 instances using AWS. One of them is going to host an Nginx server, which will offer up a synthetic certificate chain that we create using OpenSSL. And the other EC2 instance is just going to be a Windows VM, which is configured to trust the root CA of this synthetic chain.
Okay, so the first way that we invalidated the certificate chain was by revoking one of the certificates. So we had a chain of 4 certificates, a root CA, 2 intermediate CAs, and then the server Nginx instance. And we invalidated the first of those intermediate CAs. So the one directly signed by the root CA is the one that we revoked. And then just to show real quick, we have a video just to speed it up a little bit. Great. All right. So really quickly, we're just going to show the certificate signed. So here we have the root issued certificates. So the root signed intermediate CA1. And as you can see, the R stands for revoked. So that's just clarifying that it has in fact been revoked. And then these are the certificates signed by intermediate CA1. As you can see, it's V for valid. And then here we have the Nginx certificate, which is also valid, as you can see. And that was signed by intermediate CA2. So now really quickly, we're just going to demonstrate how we got the server to use those certificate chains or the certificate chain. And we also just made sure that the server was also properly serving the CRLs. Okay, now going to our EC2 instance here on the Windows virtual machine, we're just going to show really quickly that we in fact do have the root CA, the root CA certificate here under our trusted root certificate authorities on the local VM. So we're just going to save that really quickly. And then we are just going to really quickly connect using an HTTPS connection to the instance. And as you can see, it properly connects with a secure connection. And then just to show that the chain is in fact valid, we are going to simulate a TLS connection using OpenSSL. And then here we're just verifying using the root CA, the intermediate CAs, and then the CRLs, the combined CRLs, and then the server certificate. And as you can see here, we get an error at depth 2 that the certificate has been revoked, which is in fact the intermediate 1 CA. Okay, so our second invalidation was using non-critical certificate extensions. So we again had a chain of 4 certificates, a root CA, 2 intermediates, and a server. And then we had the server support an invalid non-critical extension that was actually syntactically valid. So again, we have another video here to demonstrate that. All right. So there we have our EC2 instance for the server. And then very quickly, I'm just going to show the particular extension that we added. So this here was on the configuration file for the server certificate. And as you can see, it's just a random extension entitled the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. But just to show that again, and then it has here some syntax, and then this is a wrong extension for Curious George. Oh. Okay, sorry about that. And then just to make sure, we're just going to connect to the VM instance here, and then we're going to, that's the root certificate for that particular one. We had it being trusted by the VM, and then we're just going to copy the public DNS there and establish another secure connection with HTTPS on the VM. And as you can see again, it works. Yeah.
Okay, so how can this attack be defended against? Well, really the only way to do this is to properly, check for revocations. Currently, basically all browsers except for Firefox do a very poor job at this. This is mainly because browsers tend to prioritize speed and low latency over, security, unfortunately. There is some interesting research going on currently about how to speed this up. So some of the difficulties with this implementing this attack was that a lot of the sort of misvalidations that were described in past papers are now checked for by modern browsers. Some of the things we tried were changing the altering the path length extension to make the issuing CAs 0, meaning that they are not allowed to issue they're not allowed to sign certificates, and some of the other extensions like this. And one of the other issues was the process of doing this is quite time consuming. It's syntactically, the certificates themselves are syntactically dense, and changing one certificate in the chain can have propagating effects down, and it can be quite difficult to keep track of.
Okay, and that's our presentation. Thank you.